Well, thank you all for coming along today. It's not the first time we've been here in New South Wales Parliament House, but it's the first time we've been here on World Food Day. And for those of you who don't know about the Sydney Food Fairness Alliance, we formed in 2005 with a group of people who came from very different walks of life, very different professions, encompassing primary producers, health and community workers, people working in charitable organisations, academics, planners and environmentalists. And they're all people who are concerned from different parts of the spectrum about the ways that our food system's failing us. And Jeremy has just referred to quite a few of those this evening. So looking both from the food production end and the supply of foods and looking at our foods for the future, as well as looking at the access that we have to foods and where that's limited for many people in our society today. And of course that's what we're focusing on this evening, is about why it is that still in 2012, with Australia apparently the lucky country, apparently creating so much food we can export bucket loads of it overseas, but we're still failing to feed and adequately and properly feed so many of our own population. And the impacts of that are really devastating, both in terms of short and long-term health consequences and other consequences, which will be drawn up by some of our speakers later on this evening. I'm very pleased today to have heard that food security has been well and truly on the airways. If people have been listening to the radio today, you may have heard on 702 that there's been discussion about the Anglicare report, the new Anglicare report, linked to an event that they're running today, which is talking about food security. And it's often something missing off the agenda when we talk about poverty and Anti-Poverty Week. And I'm really pleased to see that food security is now becoming something that people are talking about more. And partly, I think, because we know that poverty is always with us, always has been with us. And I think people often can't relate to what that actually means. And in a way, food security gives us one kind of lens to be able to understand if people are food insecure, what that means in their lives. And the root cause of food insecurity, as we can see, is poverty. So we've got several reports recently that have focused on this issue. Gerry will talk later on about the End Hunger report. There's a new Anglicare report today, and ACOS has also released a report. And they're very big numbers. You know, ACOS is talking about 1 in 8 people being poor in Australia. That's 2.25 million people at our current population. If we look at food security having an incidence of about 5%, well, you can think 5% is perhaps a marginal number, but that's 1 million people. ACOS reported that 1 in 6 children are living in below the poverty line. So that means a lot of our children are not able to access good food. Is anybody listening? Do we care? If you look at the recent National Food Plan, you'd think not, because the information about food insecurity is really minimalised. It's made to look a much smaller number than it is. I went to a presentation in Sydney where they claimed that the actual incidence was 2%. And when we challenged them on that, they said that other people had complained about that, but the slide hadn't been changed. So it's hard not to think that there's a concerted attempt to minimise the extent of it. And you can't do anything about it if you don't acknowledge the problems that's there. So I think it's really important. Tonight we want to look at what the real problem is, and then to start looking at what are some of the solutions that we can use to address food insecurity. Sometimes it feels overwhelming. It seems that the issues are so broad at every level of the food chain, it seems hard to imagine where we can start. But we've tried to put together a programme this evening where we can talk about really fair and square what are some of the issues, and also what are some of the things that people are doing, can do, have done, both on a local level and on a policy level. And that's particularly important for our parliamentary members, because there are things that can be done at a parliamentary level as well as things that can be done in communities, and ways that Parliament can support things being done in communities.